ended it on its own terms without setting up for another sequel, then it completely passes. So the Dark Knight trilogy, that's kind of the best example of they're not making any more of them. It completely ended on its own. Pretty much everything else that like isn't currently going and Marvel and DC count, right?
Because they wanted to make more.
Exactly. So today, what movie are we doing?
The Captain America TV movie from 1979.
Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is all the rage right now. And we thought, how can we sneak around and talk about that? And there are several Captain America movies that we could choose from, actually. So there's a 1944 serial, which we kind of decided to skip. We sort of looked at it online, and it's like 15 episodes. It turns out to be like somewhere between 3 and 4 hours long. Yeah. And we were pretty much like, nope.
Seems a little too long.
Yeah. What'd you think of that? We watched like 5 minutes of it, and it seems like we could watch like an episode or two, but
it seems like something that, I would watch episodically. I'm not going to sit and watch the entire thing straight through.
I think what we might end up doing, because we're not doing this one, we're pretty much skipping serials, I think, from the 40s. But I think what we might end up doing is maybe like watch the first 3-4 episodes and just call it, you know? So this movie is available pretty much nowhere. You can rent it. So it's just called Captain America. It's from 1979. It's the one with the guy in the motorcycle helmet. Once you see it, you'll know what I'm saying. Yeah,
motorcycle helmet, clear shield.
Yeah, that one. There was 2 of them. There's this and a sequel called Captain America 2: Death Too Soon. And unfortunately, the 2 is spelled correctly. It's not like 2, which would have been great. So that one we're doing next week, but that one's also like pretty much impossible to find. So I ended up buying a 2-part DVD.
It was like, what, like $6 on Amazon?
Yeah, for $6 on Amazon, and it arrived in one day. So I guess this was just like taking up space in the shelves here in
just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, in my local Amazon warehouse. So that was pretty easy to find, I guess. But yeah, you ready to get into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
So there are time codes in the description if you want to jump around. I wouldn't imagine this might be a nice and short episode for this nice short movie.
Which honestly might be a nice break.
Yeah, for sure. Initial expectations. Did you have any?
I didn't know what to expect.
Have you ever heard of this?
No. I'm sure I had seen pictures of it because I'd seen pictures of the Captain America and the motorcycle helmet. But I always mistakenly thought that was like the 90s Captain America movie. Yeah.
I knew Captain America movies existed, and I had seen this picture of this, what I thought was like a dweeb in a motorcycle helmet. But I had never even seen a second of this. So I had zero expectations. Like I said, you said, I've seen pictures of this fucker. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Like, I didn't think it was going to be good, but I didn't know if it was going to be terrible.
Right. It's just so funny because this guy is, we'll get into it, but this guy's like pretty handsome, the actor.
And like, he's ripped.
Yeah. And he's totally jacked too. And so it's not the impression I ever got from seeing like the pictures of him on the motorcycle with the helmet. Well, I think the helmet...
The costume's not good.
Yeah, it just makes him look super like dorky. That I would have never imagined that was him. Like, that's the guy. But yeah, so anyway, let's just get right into it because those are what little initial expectations we had for this. So this movie's from 1979. It was made for TV, and it shows from the very beginning. There's a lot of like really long driving scenes, right?
Yeah, very long driving scenes.
There's about a good 5 minutes of just seeing a van driving down, driving down the street. That's pretty much it. So our hero, Steve Rogers, receives a phone call from a worried man named Jeff, who asks to meet with him at his home later that night. On his way to a separate errand, an oil truck slicks the hillside road with oil, and Steve swerves off the hill and crashes his van. He escapes in his dirt bike he was towing on the back of his van. So, actually, there was another scene. I mean, it wasn't worth mentioning, but he just meets a friend. That's it.
He meets a friend and gives him a painting that he made. Yeah. And then they, kind of hey, it was good to see you, man.
That's pretty much it. And then he uses his phone because they don't have cell phones. Because it's the 70s. But it's just basically, from this point, he has 3 errands to run. He's like, this is how you don't like write a movie where now you're so much into the perspective of like this guy's daily routine that you're like along for the ride. He's like, oh, I gotta go. He takes a call and he's like, yeah, I can meet you later. I've got this errand to run first, but first I'm meeting with this guy, and then I gotta drive to a second location, and then I'll meet you at that third location. And we were kind of confused. I'm like, wait, where is he and where's he going? Like I don't understand his plans, you know?
But this does show that Steve's just like a nice guy. You know, he's got plenty of friends, and he's like,
I guess,
always open to, I guess, helping people suddenly when they call.
He's just like this really tall, really ripped, blonde guy
that lives in California.
Just like, yeah, just kind of like your classic like California nice boy. Beautiful blonde hair. This guy's played by Reb Brown, and he wasn't very good, I don't think.
No.
He just sort of read his lines.
Yeah, like he was there.
He definitely looks the part, though. Like
I've seen worse actors, though, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you put him up with Chris Evans.
Oh, no contest.
No, but I mean, I'm saying they both look like Captain America.
Oh, they...
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, obviously...
Acting-wise, there's no contest.
Yeah, not at all. But, like, you put them side by side, you put a costume on them, and you'd be like, yeah, that's Captain America. He's a very good-looking Captain America, I think. Yeah, so, classic oil slick action scene. I thought it was funny because when his van is like swerving out of control, he just like has great control over it. Like he like spins the wheel and he gets back.
It's almost
on.
like he's drifting.
Yeah, I was very much like, oh, a Tokyo Drift situation here. Just like that last turn just fucked him up, and he
flies off the mountain.
Flies off. He escapes with like not a scratch, but his shirt's all ripped. And I get that this is like low budget, but like just one cut, you know,
no bodily harm at all, and he just drives away on his dirt bike, I guess. He's like, oh wow, that was a freak accident. And like the way this was set up too, it's like he gets to like a roadblock which is clearly set up by the bad guys. You're like, oh yeah, you take a detour up this road, and then he goes, all right. So he takes a detour, and then you see the bad guys maliciously turn the signs around where it said road closed.
I love that he crashes his van, and then he's just like, well, I guess that happened, and he takes his dirt bike that he had in the back of the van and just
continues on with his day.
Doesn't call like the cops, none of that. Just abandons his van. Like
he's like, I gotta go meet my friend.
Almost as illegal as like causing this crash in the first place. So Steve arrives at a laboratory where he meets two scientists, Simon and his assistant Wendy. Simon introduces himself as a friend of his father's and explains his father's work to him. Steve's father, by the way, he doesn't get a name, right? Steve's father?
No, they just
keep calling him like
your father.
Oh, well. Steve's father developed a hormone called flag, so appropriately. Full latent ability gain to improve human strength and agility. He developed it on himself and became a secret super soldier to aid the U.S. government. Simon has not been able to replicate the results because of cell rejection. He theorizes it will only work on Steve. Steve refuses, claiming he's already done his service to his country and wants to retire as an artist. This was it was a lot kind of to take in.
Yeah.
But like info wise, you kind of have to be paying attention. But I don't know why I have this like impression. It's just like, I guess being like a dumb millennial, that I figure that everything before like 1990 is just like horrible. You know, like movies are just so bad that like people are dumb. Like they didn't, like nothing was well written, nothing was well done. And so when I see like this info dump that like is pretty well thought through, honestly, I'm like, oh wow, like they really,
it's surprising.
Yeah. Like they really did some homework here.
But this iteration of Steve is obviously a little different than what people might be used to, though, because this Steve Rogers like apparently had a father that worked on basically the serum.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that he is not the original Captain America.
Yeah,
he is Captain America's son,
and he's also like he's hesitant to become Captain America. Like he was apparently a former Marine, so he's like, oh, you know, I was already in the service. I'm kind of done. I just want to travel around and draw.
I was really surprised that like he didn't just like say yeah. Again, it's one of those things where I just expect the movie to be as bad as possible.
Right.
So I'm just like, no, yeah, he's just gonna sign up. It's gonna be very straightforward. And he's just like, no, look, you can't give me this America needs me bullshit because I already did my part. Like I served for,
And he brings up
for
a
so many
really
years.
good point.
Yeah, like he did serve his country. He was like a Marine, like whatever. I mean, he looks young. He looks like 25, to be fair. So I'm
Probably
like,
did like 4 years.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. He could be 30 at like
Yeah.
oldest, I feel. And he's just like, thank you, but no thank you. Like,
It was nice to meet you.
seriously,
Bye.
very polite. I kind of feel like what they were going for is we don't want to do World War II. I don't know. I get the impression, like, because this happened for decades and decades and decades, that, like, when they made these comic book movies, they were very hesitant to just do the comic book.
For some reason.
Yeah. They're like, we can't do that. That's nonsense. We have to kind of make it more believable, make it more real world.
Which, funny enough, they end up, like, not doing that
Yeah.
when they try to do that.
Well, it reminds me of when we did the Wonder Woman movies, the TV movies, where the first one from 1974, they're like, well, we can't possibly do Wonder Woman. That's ridiculous.
So she'll be a secret agent.
Yeah. So she'll be a secret agent super spy and she'll kick ass, but she doesn't have any like superpowers or anything. And it was a horrible movie. you
Yeah.
know? Ricardo Montalban was awesome in it, and that was pretty much it.
Yep.
And then so like the next year, they're like, all right, what if we just do, pause for dramatic effect, the actual comic book Wonder Woman? And like, no surprise, that's the one that got popular, and they made 3 seasons of a TV show.
Yeah.
Because in that one, they actually stuck to like, all right, we're going all in. It's World War II. She's from Themyscira. Like it's,
And yeah,
she's
it
got
was
superpowers.
hokey, but it was still enjoyable to watch.
It was much better. Like,
Yeah.
That's like the oldest thing we've seen so far that we really liked.
Yeah.
Was the what's her name?
Linda Carter.
The Linda Carter movie pilot. So I just think it's funny because this comes out in 79, I guess around the same time as like season 3 of Wonder Woman. And
Yeah.
these people aren't thinking like, hey, part of me wants to think that they're like, all right, well, let's make another superhero. Who else do we got? Let's do Captain America. And Captain America has a similar origin where he's from World War II, but they're like, nah, we're not going to do World War II. Like, that's too expensive.
Let's set it in modern times.
So yeah, it's set in the modern day, and he's Steve Rogers' son. But at that point, you might as well just make... First of all, you made this guy Steve Rogers. This isn't like Chad Rogers. You know what I mean?
Right.
You made him Steve Rogers. So why not just make him the original Captain America? Because it seems like you still wanted a Captain America in World War II, but we're barely just going to mention him. So what's the point?
Yeah, well, also, you could have just made this a different character and done something completely original and still have Steve Rogers exist in that continuity, too. I don't know if that piss off people less or not.
I feel like that's worse. Like, we're going to talk about the real Steve Rogers, but you'll never see him.
Yeah,
You know what I
like,
mean?
Be problematic, too.
And the other thing is, like, I guess he's like a secret because, like, he doesn't know that his dad was Captain America.
Right.
But also, I like that because a big kind of plot point in Captain America movies now and Falcon and the Winter Soldier is that the super soldier serum, and like people want to replicate it, they want to give it to other people, they want to create other super soldiers.
Yep.
Even though Steve Rogers was the original and everything got destroyed, so that no one has been able to replicate him, you know? And
Right.
then in the MCU, like, you know, you get Hulk and Abomination.
Are both results of trying to replicate the serum.
Exactly.
Which, in the case of Abomination, it almost worked if he didn't go and take another dose of it.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, the first one was good.
And then even after that, he went and exposed himself to Bruce's blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Which made it even... Yeah, like...
There's still rumors that they'll bring him back.
I don't know. Like, it's been a long time.
There's rumors for She-Hulk, I think, is what they're
All right.
theorizing, that they might bring him back.
Are they bringing back Tim Roth?
Yeah.
To play him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though he's a big Abomination man.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be his
these are
human
rumors.
form again.
Yeah, these are rumors. But,
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting way in this one that they say we can't give it to anyone else because they'll die. Like they're testing it on mice, and the mice are dying because their cells are like will reject it. Kind of like a heart. They say like a heart transplant.
And they're like, since you have the same genetics as your dad, basically,
it'll probably work on you.
It'll probably work.
Like we don't know. Steve goes to Jeff's house and finds it ransacked. Jeff is lying on the floor dying. As Steve holds Jeff, his last words were Catherine. And he says something else. I think he says like Steve Rogers.
He says like Steve Rogers, Catherine, and he says like please.
And then he dies. As Steve calls 911, the assassin steals a camera and a calendar and leaves. So I was already kind of confused. Jeff, at this point, Jeff is the guy who called him in the beginning.
Yes.
And he's like, hey, come. And he's like, sure, I just have to run like 5 errands first.
And he's like, all right, meet me at my house at 9.
Yeah, I'm going to take the whole movie with me too. And so he's just at some dude's house. I mean, nothing really special happens here, but I do like that he steals the camera and the calendar. And then later on, when they ask Steve, they're like, all right.
Is there anything different in this room?
And he's like, just try real hard. Is there anything that's missing, maybe? Anything moved? And he's like, well, now that I think about it, there was a fancy-looking camera there and a calendar, and now they're both gone. In a million years, you would not be able to do that.
No.
Like...
Unless he was like, oh, he sees his friend dying on the ground. He's like, you know what? That's a nice camera on that desk right there.
Ooh. And then goes back to his dead friend. I love that he clearly knows how to call 911 at this point, but when he gets into like a almost like life-threatening car accident,
He doesn't even attempt.
Right. You just, I'm gonna just keep
I'm
going
just
about
gonna
my day.
leave my van laying in the side of a mountain.
All right, so a man named Mr. Brackett learns that their hitman didn't get the information they needed from Jeff's, which is an equation that they need to complete the construction of a neutron bomb. Mr. Brackett fears Steve Rogers, who survived their oil slick, will get the flag serum and defeat them.
Why does he assume this?
First of all, how do you know all this stuff is happening? I was trying to think about this, and yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because later on in the movie, it's revealed that Mr. Brackett was good friends growing up with Jeff, I think, the guy who killed.
Okay.
And they all worked together, I think, with the people that helped create like Captain America and were responsible for him. So they all kind of know each other. And so Mr. Brackett, I guess, always knew that the flag serum didn't work on anybody, but would work on Steve Rogers. But
okay.
I mean, it's been like presumably like since from the 40s to the 70s, it's been like 30 years. Why would he assume at this point, 30 years along the way, they're like, oh, one of these days they're going to get Steve Rogers and they're going to give him flag and he's going to figure me out and he's going to be the only thing that can foil our plans. You know?
Which, like, he wasn't even aware of your plans. And
Exactly.
wouldn't have been involved at all if you hadn't, one, tried to kill him in the first place.
That's the other thing. It seems like a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point.
And two, killed his friend Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the assassin wasn't supposed to kill him anyway.
Oh, that's right. That was an
He was
accident.
like, he was just supposed to scare him.
Oh, yeah. It's just kind of funny you meet like all the bad guys all at once, and I'm like, well, these are clearly the bad guys, first of all. And then they just kind of come out and say it. They're just the way that they're talking about it, because they're just sitting like in their boardroom talking about like assassination attempts. Like they're not even kind of hiding it. Steve analyzes the scene of the crime with the FBI and Simon. Steve realizes the camera and the calendar are missing. Oh, that's the part we said. Simon reveals Jeff was working on a neutron bomb and might have been photographing secrets. Steve claims that Jeff was no traitor. So I do like the whole kind of like, it's almost like an element of espionage.
Yeah.
You know, or they're like, why would he be taking pictures of stuff?
Yeah, like he shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. I don't think we figure out why he had pictures. At the very end, they say it.
Isn't it because he was holding his wife hostage?
That's right. Yeah, we'll get there.
But you're right. This is a bit like, this turns into sort of like an espionage movie type deal.
A little
and it's
bit,
not
yeah.
a bad one.
No. All this stuff in the middle I like. It's all like the action stuff that's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the part where they also clarify that they ask him what his final words were, and he said, like, Catherine. And they're like, well, Catherine is Jeff's wife, and she died in a plane crash like a year ago. So that's weird that she would say that. And also that they have a daughter that they have to like break the news to. And she's like young. Her name is Tina, which is weird. They have to like, and it's like, for some reason, Steve Rogers has to deliver the news to her.
Yeah, he's like, I'll go tell her.
I guess, but like, it's kind of weird. That kind of sucks. Steve gets a call, and it's the bad guys to meet them at a gas station.
And he's just like, all right.
He's very amiable, this Steve Rogers. You could scam him to do it for like anything. He's just like the nicest guy.
Yeah. Like, meet us at the gas station. We want to talk to you. And he's like, all right.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be there.
No problem. They meet, and the bad guys demand to know if he has the missing camera film. A chase ensues that forces Steve off a cliff again. Um, this time he gets hurt. At the hospital, Steve is all but dead. About to die, Simon injects him with the flag serum to save his life. He informs and awakens Steve about the serum, and Steve still refuses to be his test subject, despite the serum saving his life.
This was actually a pretty good scene, actually.
Yeah, that was pretty clever. That was a pretty clever way of, like, putting him in a situation that, you know, he takes the serum without wanting it because Steve Rogers, and I guess, like, a departure from this in the comics is that Steve Rogers is, like, super skinny and frail in the comics. Whereas in this, he's already, like, big and, like, he's a big hunk already.
And Steve Rogers in the comic, like, wanted to take the serum and, like...
Because he wanted to do... I mean, I guess he's, like, kind of the opposite of this guy.
Good. Yeah, this guy's like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Well,
he's a reluctant hero.
He is, but also, you can't blame him. Like, he's still not... He has the same kind of, like, personality and character traits as Steve Rogers. He's just in a different scenario. Like, he already served... And he feels like he already did his, like, duty to his country. And he just wants to, like,
take
chill.
it easy. Yeah. And actually, Steve gets upset that they gave him the serum.
Yeah.
Especially since, you know, they don't know if he's going to survive. So he brings up, like, the good point of, like, you know, what if I die in, like, 2 weeks? Or, like, I don't know how long I have to live anymore. And it's your fault.
Right. I'm kind of, like, I don't know where I would stand on this. Like, if they use, like, an experimental drug to, like, bring me back to life, that could really fuck you up. Would you be okay with that unconsenting? Like, you were, like, passed out. You didn't know.
Yeah. No, it brought up a good, like, ethical question.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, maybe it was his time to go. And now you've given him something that, like, could make him worse for all you know?
Right. Yeah, he's alive, but as far as he knows right now, at what cost?
Yeah. I like that Simon here is basically like, all right, well, I saved his life. The serum worked. Surely he's going to be Captain America now. And he's going to work with us. And Steve's still like, no, like nothing's changed. Like, I still
like,
don't want to do this.
Thanks for saving me, but...
Yeah, but that's it. We're done here.
Simon's kind of like a Nick Fury type character here.
Yeah, he really wants like a hero on his hands.
Yeah.
He's also like the only good actor in this whole movie.
Yeah, he does a really good job.
He's the one like delivering most of like the exposition.
Yeah.
He's definitely the best one. Like, I mean, the guy playing Steve, God bless him, like, Reb Brown, he's just not a good actor. Like, he looks good, he sounds good, but he's just not a good actor.
He seems like a nice guy.
He seems like a very nice guy.
We saw a picture of him.
Oh, yeah, if you look on his Wikipedia.
It's just a picture of him wearing a Captain America shirt.
Yeah, like, he's in his 70s now, and I guess he's just always been, like, you know, going to cons and, like, signing autographs and just being Captain America.
Yeah, because I'm sure a movie like this has, like, a cult following, and he has his fans.
Maybe, yeah. Also, it's, like, his claim to fame. Like,
That's true, too.
The rest of his IMDb it's barely anything.
Random things, yeah.
Guest starring on TV shows, like, in the 70s and 80s and stuff. I keep holding this DVD like it's got all the answers on it. Bad guys kidnap Steve. Okay, I should probably read that differently. One of the bad guys makes his way into the hospital and kidnaps Steve and takes him to a meat packing plant. Now super strong, Steve escapes his binds and beats the men up with cow carcasses. I thought that was really funny. It's a really interesting place to put an action scene.
It was probably one of the better action scenes in this movie, too.
Yeah, but they're just kind of like surrounded by like, just like, you know, carcasses just hung up to like dry in a refrigerator.
And he's throwing the cow carcasses at them.
Well, he did a domino one where like he like hit one and all of the carcasses just kind of like
started flying down like the line.
And then just hit the bad guys at the end because he's so strong or whatever. Each of those weighs like 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Or maybe less, I guess. They're just meat and bones.
Yeah, they're hollowed out a little bit.
Yeah. Steve and Simon take a stroll on a beach. There's so many beach scenes in this. It's great. And Steve reflects on the responsibility that comes with his strength. Simon tells him that his father was so patriotic that his enemies jokingly called him Captain America and asks him to serve again. Steve this time says he'll think about it and gives him a drawing he made on the spot of a Captain America in a Star-Spangled costume.
Yeah, he just was just walking around drawing this, I guess, while they were talking.
Yeah.
And then
it's like a really good drawing.
Yeah, and he hands it to Simon, and Simon literally gasps and says, "This is wonderful."
I mean, it looks like it looks like a panel from like a comic book. It's so good.
It's a very
Yeah.
good drawing of a Captain America suit.
I think it's so funny that like they're living in an era here where they're still kind of embarrassed to like be making a comic book superhero property, that they're like, well, you know, you wouldn't dare call yourself Captain America. The bad guys are making fun of your dad
By calling
him Captain America, like sarcastically. That felt kind of like, because later on they gave him like his costume and they used kind of the same excuse. You're like, well, you know,
right?
Like we're just making fun of your dad at this point. Like
by the end of the movie, though, he's
yeah, they worked their way to it, but it's almost like, I don't know, just like do it. Don't be ashamed of what you're doing. If you're
especially
ashamed
if you're
of,
dumping money into it.
yeah, if you're ashamed of Captain America, then don't fucking make Captain America movies. All I'm saying.
Embrace what you're doing.
Yeah, don't be coy. I do like the part where, because I mean, again, Steve Rogers, he's just like the best guy ever. And so he's sitting here going like, I realize that, you know, he's talking about the responsibility for being so strong. He's like, if I punch someone too hard, it could kill them. Now that I'm like super strong.
If I squeeze this pencil too hard, it'll break.
And he holds,
and then he just breaks a pencil. I'm like, that's how you're going to show his strength? I can do that right now.
It's for the kids. I think he's, that was the pencil he was drawing with, right?
Yeah.
Why would he do that? Oh, God.
To prove his point.
Yeah. But I think it's funny because it's like, that's the metaphor, but like, we can all do that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it is. It's like, you know how you hold a pencil too hard sometimes and now you broke it?
Yeah.
And then you feel dumb about yourself? I could do that, but it could be some dude's fucking neck.
Okay. All right.
I was kind of obsessed with Steve's outfit in this scene. He's wearing he's wearing like a really nice hoodie and like shorts that are maybe 6 inches long.
Like shorts.
Because it's like 1979.
Yeah, they're like booty shorts.
And he's in and he's on the beach. And so he's got these tiny shorts. Obviously he's ripped, like his legs are huge. And he's got that cool hoodie on. I'm like, we need to bring this outfit back. Like the 70s.
It's such an odd outfit.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm like, the 70s has some good looks. Like, say what you will.
Something about like long sleeves and then shorts is just, it seems weird. It seems weird to me.
It does, but I like that look. I'll do that. You know, we live in Florida and sometimes like that's the exact weather that you need. It's like long sleeves and shorts, you know? No, I like that look.
And then like Simon's just wearing a suit on the beach, basically.
Yeah. He basically had to like roll up his pants and he's like, fuck, goddamn, why are we here?
Steve really likes the beach.
A lot of this, I'm just like, I feel like they're just trying to get the most out of their money and they're like, all right, where can we go for free? The beach.
It's right across the street from our studio. So.
Yeah. So Simon gives Steve his van back, now repaired and upgraded. There's a hidden red, white, and blue motorcycle with a shield on the windscreen. The shield resembles Captain America's, except it's transparent and it's clearly made out of plastic. Steve takes the motorcycle for a test ride, encountering a fun little ramp in the middle of nowhere, and the attention of some bad guys in a helicopter, who chase him down and shoot at him. Steve circles back to the ramp, jumps into the helicopter, and stops them.
This is where the movie starts getting a little ridiculous. Funny enough, it's like after he becomes Captain America, the movie gets dumb.
Yeah.
But like, this was a very long scene of just him riding around on a motorcycle. And all of a sudden, a helicopter pops up and starts shooting at him.
Yeah. Last week, we were just talking about Justice League and how they basically had to reverse engineer this movie and make changes so that it could fit in 2 hours. That was the mandate. The movie had to be 2 hours long, right?
Right.
I feel like this is like the inverse, where they're like, this is going on TV. It has to be an hour and 30 X minutes or whatever, because we're going to put, 5 commercials and it's got to fill in a block that's this long.
So there's a lot of filler
There
scenes.
is so much filler in this movie. And all of the action scenes are all filler because they go on for too long. They don't develop in any way. Like, it's basically the same beat just over and over
They're
and
not
over
super
and over
exciting.
again. No, it's like the oil slick. Like, they just kind of spun the car a bunch of times.
Repeatedly.
And then he gains control, and then he spins again, then he gains control, and then he falls off.
You could have taken out like 2 of those spins.
Yeah, and then before this, the motorcycle chase. And it was filmed at nighttime, which you're not supposed to do because, especially the cameras at the time, the whole thing is just black. Like, you can't see shit.
Yeah, like this was literally filmed like outside in the dark.
Yeah. And so for this one, it's all right for a little bit. And then it gets to the point where there's like an Evel Knievel ramp just sitting there. They're in the middle of nowhere, by the way. And here's this ramp, no explanation. I don't think he uses it. He just drives next to it.
I think
the first time
he goes off of it the first time, but it's just like a little like whoop.
I thought he didn't, and I was like, "What?" I don't remember.
He didn't like fly off of it, but yeah.
So he's given this dirt bike, and it's got like a silent mode, so it feels like an electric car. He just like turns it on, and it's just making any noise anymore. Yeah.
Like it makes noise, but it's like a.
But the funniest part is when he gets the shield, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we just customized this really lightweight shield for you. It's bulletproof, and look at what you can do with it." And he throws it,
and it's just a flimsy plastic frisbee,
and it just kind of like hovers very slowly,
incredibly slow,
and then it's clearly like held on strings, and then just like someone like tosses it back to him, and he catches it. But what I don't understand is why they would make it out of plastic.
I don't know, or. If you're going to make it out of plastic, don't make it look like it's made out of plastic.
Yeah, so like imagine the Captain America shield, which is like 3 rings. You know, it's the star and the circle that's blue, and then there's 3 rings that are red, white, and red again, right? In this one, the white one, instead of being white, is just transparent. Like you can see right through it.
It looks like a windshield, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't really know if maybe that's... Since he puts it on the front of his motorcycle,
plexiglass, like a plexiglass.
Is it supposed to be so like he can see through it while he's driving?
I don't know because he's not really looking through it either because it's below his head.
Yeah, my point is like this movie would be a lot better if they had just made it metal. Like it should just be metal.
Yeah, and you can still do the throws like with it on string, and
all the effects.
It'll look better because it wouldn't be all like floaty and flimsy.
It just looks like it weighs like there's no weight to it. It looks like it weighs like 5 pounds, which it probably did.
If even that.
It looks like it looks like a trash can lid, like an actual like trash can lid. It is confusing because he's test driving the motorcycle, and then out of fucking nowhere is like the bad guys, and they're shooting at him in a helicopter.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of helicopter shots. Like I thought, oh wow, they had the budget for a helicopter. Because, you know, that's how they're getting these shots, like aerial shots. And then they show a helicopter, and I was like, wait, what's happening right now? And then they start shooting at him. I'm like, are these bad guys? Where'd they come from? How'd they know you? Like, what's going on here? I just get the impression that they're like, yeah, if we're going to spend the budget on a helicopter, we're going to use it. Like, we're going to put 2 helicopters in this movie.
Do they shoot at every motorcycle that's also just joyriding?
They don't even tell you who these bad guys are. I assume it was just another... like assassin squad from like the bad guy, but it's never made clear. It's just like, oh, here's some...
just like, oh, I just got attacked. That was weird.
Because you know, like in some superhero movies where like when they first are testing out their powers, they go like do a crime or they solve a crime. You know, they find some criminals on the street and then they beat them. That's kind of what's happening here, but they never tell you who these people are that are just shooting at them from like a helicopter.
Yeah.
Mr. Brackett, that's the bad guy, by the way. So many names in this. Meets with Tina, that's Jeff's daughter, to try to get the camera film, saying that'll clear his name. So he's coming off as like a friend. She tells him they used to hide notes for each other inside fishing rods, where they find the film. They're interrupted by Wendy, who was sent there to befriend Tina. Mr. Brackett pulls a gun on them and takes them both hostage.
So why did Mr. Brackett pull a gun when...
Because I think he knows who... He's smart, I guess.
Wendy was literally coming to take her to lunch and that's it.
Yeah.
And she didn't know who Brackett was.
Right. He could have just played it off. I get this feeling like he just read the script. Because
it's like, all right, this is what I need to do next.
Yeah, because at the beginning, he's like, well, shit. Steve Rogers is going to get the flag serum by the end of this movie. We got to kill him now, you know?
That's the bad guy's superpower, script reading.
Yeah. Also, we skipped a part. It's really not important at all. But Wendy and Steve Rogers are like dating.
Yeah.
They go on the beach together and they're like making out.
Yep.
But that doesn't pay off in any way.
And then Simon walks in on him. He goes, I hope I'm interrupting something.
Because Wendy's kind of trying to, I guess she's whoring herself out to like convince him to do it, to be Captain America.
Yeah.
But he ends up doing it anyway. Like it doesn't really, there's no payoff. It's just, I just feel like they're like, all right, love interest. Here you go.
Yeah.
You're the hot girl.
Boom.
Back at the lab, they figure out it's Mr. Brackett, the oil tycoon, who's behind everything. Steve offers to go in alone, and Simon gives him a disguise/costume based on the drawing Steve made for him. He tells him to be the Captain America his father was ridiculed for being. Oh boy. Captain America infiltrates the base, bests the guards with an oil spill, and saves the girls. He interrogates the scientists, who then passes out.
All right. So
There's a bit to unpack here.
he gives him this Captain America costume, which is very bright, very obvious. And he goes, "This is your disguise. They'll never recognize you.
Yeah.
They'll never see you coming."
There's a lot of gaps in logic here. Number one, Steve Rogers doesn't know that his dad was Captain America. He doesn't know who Captain America is. He doesn't know what the costume looks like. And yet he created a costume incredibly reminiscent of Captain America on the spot, on the beach. He drew it out and he gave it to Simon. From that, Simon is supposedly creates the Captain America costume. Again, that is very reminiscent of Captain America, even though the stars and stripes go in different directions, right?
Right.
They're more like, there's like a V pattern on his chest or whatever, and that's essentially the only difference. There's no talk about like being a symbol or representing the United States.
It's
just
like,
kind
hey,
of like,
your dad did this, now you should too.
yeah, here's your dad had this stupid disguise. Now you take this stupid disguise. Nobody will see it coming.
And then the action when he infiltrates the base, it's just...
I just wish you would take the helmet off.
It's a dorky looking motorcycle
It's
helmet.
a very dorky look altogether. Like, I get it. You're on a motorcycle. But he also has like goggles. It's like a motorcycle goggle combination. And in the 70s, were there no helmets with like face shields? Did you have to wear goggles? Like, I don't know anything about this time period. So, and like motorcycle helmets, but I kind of wish like he could take the helmet off and then just kind of have like a different thing on his head, because it's the helmet that makes him look so bad. Everything else is kind of forgivable,
For the time, yeah.
For the time, yeah. It's kind of like part of the whole kind of campiness of it. But the helmet is just horrible, because he just wears it all the time.
Yeah.
Not just when he's on the motorcycle.
Yeah, and then he just like starts fighting people and he throws oil all over the ground so the bad guys fall down, and then he gets away. Gets away.
I love how he like was like really eating that up too. He's like got a big like grin on his face.
He's got like a shit-eating grin.
It being the 70s, every time he uses his powers, like there's like a sound effect.
Yeah.
It's like boing, and then he like bends something. He like breaks open a lock. He saves the girls, and again, just like Simon has to reiterate, he's like, Captain America is so stupid. Like, your dad was ridiculed for being Captain America.
So go do that.
It's the silliest thing in the world, but you should go do that. Be the Captain America your father was ridiculed for being.
What a weird thing.
That's such a weird angle to like come at this, right?
Hey, yeah, they made fun of your dad for doing this, so why don't you go give it a shot?
So, okay. They learn that Mr. Brackett will be taking the completed bomb to Arizona on a truck. On a helicopter. By the way, what's his end game? What does he want the bomb for? Is he going to hold people hostage or something?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's
I
like...
don't think they ever say. I think they're just like, bomb, cool, we're bad guys.
We're bad guys. Let's threaten to blow things up.
Yeah, let's blow shit up.
Because, like, I don't think he wanted to blow it up, because if his heart stopped beating, then it would blow up.
Yeah. So I was going to get to that. They strapped a thing to him. So if he dies, the bomb goes off.
Which I guess he almost does, but yeah.
No, seriously. On a helicopter, they fly over the highway to find the truck. Simon lands, and Captain America shoots out in his motorcycle. Captain America jumps on top of the truck and bends the exhaust pipe into the compartment where Mr. Brackett and the bomb are. Such a bad idea. He passes out, and you can kill that guy. Like, it's just so dangerous. He passes out, and you're Captain America, man. Why are you trying to torture people?
Why are you trying to poison someone to death?
Okay. He passes out, and Steve realizes he's wearing a heart monitor connected to the bomb. If Mr. Brackett dies, the bomb will detonate. Simon arrives to give Mr. Brackett medical attention so he won't die. The day is saved. And that's kind of the movie.
Yeah, alright, so this was the big, like, climactic action scene?
Yeah.
And it was so boring.
It was so boring.
I was actually falling asleep while this is happening.
The way I read it just now is much more exciting than actually happened. Like, they're on the helicopter just flying. There's like flying footage for like maybe a good 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration. It's just them flying. It's like the boring part of
Yeah.
the action scene.
It's them flying, and then you see the truck driving, and then it cuts back to them flying, and then the truck driving, and then you see some concerned faces.
So they even go as far as like they're flying over a highway and they're like, wait, no, this is a road with tolls and like truck scales where they're gonna have way stations and they're gonna get pulled over. They can't be on here. We gotta go to this other road. And then they fly to a different road and you have to watch them. It's almost like you're watching this in real time.
Where they're like, oh shit, we fucked up. Let's try the other way.
It'll only take us 15 minutes to get there, and we gotta watch all 15 minutes of that. And then the scene where the shot where they land the helicopter, that was like the entire real life like landing. So like that shot was maybe like an entire minute long, I think. You just watch
a helicopter
The
land.
pacing is just atrocious here because it's supposed to be exciting.
It's like they did no editing.
Yeah. Again, they have to fill for time. So, and then the motorcycle, he gets on top of the truck and, I don't know, put some bad guys there for him to fight. Like, fill it up with some action scenes.
Yeah, there's like no one.
Although, when he's walking on top of that truck that is moving, it looked really real. I think they really did that.
I remember you saying, like, is this a real stunt?
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's like rear projection or bad rotoscoping or anything like that. Like, it looks like a real stunt. Like, they may have been driving really slow. They might have been going like maybe like 20 miles an hour.
But there was somebody standing on top of a moving truck.
He's definitely like, yeah, he's definitely on top of a truck that's moving.
Hey, good for them.
Yeah, seriously. And then like, yeah, he basically like, Mr. Brackett passes out and he goes in and he's like,
oh, fuck.
Oh, shit. You would think that's like the climax. And then Simon, who's like a doctor, gets there and he's like, oh, I got this. And he just kind of like administers some light medical attention. And that's just kind of it. They're like, all right, cool, we did it.
Cool, he's alive, so it's not going to blow up. We good.
It's all good. We're good now. Everything's fine. Yeah, that was really anticlimactic. For like, you know, this movie's really not that bad.
Up until like this point, yeah.
Yeah,
like some parts of it are stupid, but like
it's
just
camp, right?
The end is just bad.
Like it's campy and it's silly at parts, but like for the most part, like, you know, it's well written enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Leading up to this, it was good, and then it gets here and it just like falls flat.
I don't know. They need something else here. Different action, I guess.
Maybe the sequel will improve upon it.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so Steve agrees to continue to serve as Captain America on the condition that his costume be changed to resemble his father's. The new Captain America appears in his traditional costume and takes his new bike on a ride.
How did he know what his father's costume looked like? Or did he just tell Simon to give him like his father's costume or something?
Yeah, so this is more of like this lack in logic here is that he's like, I'll do it, but not in this costume I'm wearing. I want to wear the Captain America costume that my dad wore. And so they give him that
what
one.
I designed.
Yeah, but basically they're almost exactly the same, except that instead of the kind of V-shaped stripes on his chest, it's the traditional like 3 stripes that Captain America has.
I think he has the wings on his helmet too.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
A very small number of differences. They're very minute. And the shield is exactly the same. I'll include pictures of both costumes in the show description so you can click on them and you can see for yourself. But it's just like, how in the fuck did you come up with an incredibly similar costume on your own, not knowing that your dad was Captain America? Like that's where it doesn't really...
I mean,
it's dropped the DVD.
At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal, but
because it's supposed to be like this reveal. I think that's the point of this. Is at the end you're like, "Oh my god, it's Captain America, just like the comic book." Whoa! But the first costume wasn't different enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, it's like if they had come out with in the first part of the movie, if he had wore something that's completely different, like maybe it was like just an army costume with like an A on his head or something, I don't know, something like that. And then at the end, they debut the costume. You'd be like, oh yeah, Captain America, there he is.
Or like what the MCU did, and like he's wearing like his just World War II uniform, and then you know, and when we get to Avengers, he's wearing like his old school Captain America costume again. Yeah,
some sort of payoff.
Didn't look that good in that movie, to be fair, but
no, it looks pretty bad. But it's a payoff.
Yeah.
So anyway. Analysis. This movie is okay, I think. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it was fine. It was like I wasn't upset at this movie ever, you know?
it's just so funny because like when it's not an action scene, it's very entertaining.
Right.
Like it's a
it was
well
an interesting like espionage thriller type movie.
this is a well written movie altogether. I think
Yeah.
it's one of those where it's not all of it can be looked at the same. Like it's not the sum of its parts. You know,
Right.
like it does seem like a really good script. I liked all the characters. I like their interactions. I like their motivations. I mean, I even like, the plot is simple and, they try to complicate it a little bit, but it's interesting for sure. All the action stuff is just like, it's boring. It's nonsense. It's very limited by budget, you can tell. This is made for TV in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? This isn't like a real movie.
No, but I will say, like, even though this was overall an okay movie, it's not a good representation of the character.
Oh, you don't think so?
Eh.
It's more than I thought it would be. I thought this was going to be just like not Captain
Like,
America. I thought this was going to be like Wonder Woman 74.
Okay.
You know?
But no, like, this had, like, he is Steve Rogers. He has super strength and all of that. He's got his shield. Like, in that sense, yes. But just everything else, like, we don't have any, Captain America villains in this. We don't have...
Yeah.
He's not in a war setting.
Right.
You know, it's... Let's take the character of Captain America and throw him into, like, a random espionage story.
Yeah. I mean, Captain has been outside of, like, the war setting for some time.
True, but he's not fighting supervillains either here. He's not...
Yeah. I mean, it's his first outing. I mean, the sequel was made, like, pretty quickly after this. They both came out within the same year.
I think on the same channel, too.
Probably. So I'd be interested to see if that one takes it in a more kind of, like, supervillainy direction, or it's more of just kind of this.
Yeah, which, I mean, like we said, this wasn't bad.
Yeah, so overall, I think very much a product of its time. Very kind of 70s aesthetic. I mean, it looks like an episode of Brady Bunch. That kind of, camera work and kind of quality. Where we saw it too, it had a really bad... Well, we rented this, and the scan seemed like it came from like a VHS scan or something.
And the audio was very choppy. We had to turn on subtitles because we couldn't hear the sentences.
I'd be interested to know if this DVD we got, because then so basically I paid for this movie twice, like a chump. But I'd be interested to know if it's better on this DVD or if it's exactly the same.
In which case, I guess the only scan of this movie that exists is like
just this bad one,
a recording off of the TV channel, maybe.
Yeah. That sucks because this is, at the end of the day, this is part of history. This is like this is why we're watching. This is a Captain America movie.
Yeah.
For Keep or Cancel, we don't have anybody because there's nobody famous.
We don't know any of these people.
It's not really worth talking about anybody in this movie. They're all pretty much like TV actors from the 70s. No recognizable names. The guy who played Simon actually did some voice acting on like cartoons at the time. Nothing that like we even had ever watched.
No.
But I thought we could, do you want to talk about Captain America, the character, for a minute?
Yeah, that could be fun to do.
Yeah, so Captain America debuted in March of 1941. So March is 3, December is 12. So like 9 months before we go into World War II. But this is this is a point where like we're 2 years into World War II. The United States isn't involved, but a lot of the world is.
Right.
And so there's a lot of, not propaganda, but there's a lot of media that would be talking about the war.
Interesting
that
time. Captain America was made before America was even involved in the war, though.
Yeah, that's where you would kind of think that it would come around the same time, but it actually predates it. And with the super famous, the first issue with the cover of Captain punching Hitler in the jaw. So that would have been like right here. Yeah. That was Captain America Comics #1, March of 1941. So this was before we were ever even involved in the war. It's kind of crazy to think about, really. But this was like one of the most sold comics at the time because of this specific issue. So it was written by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, and then Stan Lee gets involved like a few issues in. Like by issue 3, he's involved. Yeah, here. Issue number 3. Captain America foils the traitor's revenge. And
which that introduced the use of the shield.
Yeah, he introduced the round shield. So that what's his shape called? Because I would have called this shield shape. You know what I mean? Like
it's more of like a
shape.
traditional shield shape.
Yeah. That traditional shield only lasted 2 issues. And then he gets the round shield because Stan Lee turned it into a sort of weapon where he can throw it.
You can throw it and and thwart Nazis.
Oh yeah. You just sounded like Stan Lee when you said Nazis. I don't know how you did that. And then Bucky was introduced like in the first issue as sort of his Robin.
I remember Bucky becomes his sidekick because he happens to find out his secret identity.
Is that really?
Yeah.
I have never read this.
It's a little silly.
Yeah, so that first issue sold nearly 1 million copies. You know what's funny is that comics do not do this well anymore. But back then, it's kind of like, there was no TV. Like
you had comics and you had radio.
Comics, radio, and books. Like, that's all you had. There's no, and much less like modern content creators, like none of that.
Yeah.
So comics were way more popular back then than they are now. Now, like if a comic sells like, 100,000 issues, that's just, that's so good.
Which is crazy because even as popular as like comic book properties are, comic books themselves are still very like niche right now.
Yeah, pretty much. And what sucks is that they're raising prices now. So I think like a regular comic book now is gonna be like $5.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Which is like really expensive
Meanwhile,
you
like how much was this Captain America issue? Probably like
a few cents, but 10 cents, I think. But back then, with inflation, I think that might even be more expensive. And I don't know. It'd be interesting to know. But something I thought was really interesting about Captain America is that right off the bat, his origin, he's more or less the same character that he is today. Like they've done very little to change Captain America over the years.
They might have made him more of a nuanced character over time, but
sure. But I'm saying like he's more or less. It's not like Batman and even Superman that has undergone tons of changes.
Some huge changes.
Over the decades. Even Wonder Woman. Remember we saw Wonder Woman in like her little motorcycle outfit in the 80s?
Yeah.
Like some of these characters went through crazy changes throughout the years.
Captain America's just always been Captain America.
Pretty much the same. Yeah. So his origin is essentially exactly what you saw in the Chris Evans movie, Captain America: First Avenger.
Yeah, that was a pretty good adaptation.
It's very faithful. Yeah, he's just like this scrawny kid. I mean, you look through the pages of the first issue, and it looks like that movie. He's just a scrawny little kid who like really, really wants to be a part of the war. He really wants to go and fight and defend the country. They don't let him. And then Dr. Abraham, or I can never say this guy's name right. How do you say
Abraham Erskine?
Erskine, yeah. I'm not gonna find it.
Erskine? I think it's Erskine.
Yeah, he gives him the super soldier serum and he becomes Captain America. And even like, the costume has not changed at all since then. They added the scales and stuff, and there's been variants, and Bucky's is, when he becomes Captain America, it's like black.
Yeah. And then same when John Walker is Captain America for a while too. It's
a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then when Falcon is Captain America, it looks very different because he still has the Falcon wings and stuff. I mean, he's essentially pretty much the same character. You were saying, he was an artist in the comics as well.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he was an artist. And then in in Captain America, the Chris Evans ones, he doodles.
Yeah, maybe that's like just paying homage.
Yeah, it's kind of an Easter egg, but I think that's an interesting bit. You're the one that told me he's like the anti-Hitler. Yeah, because he's also like an artist.
He's just a good guy.
Yeah, he's like a reluctant hero. Oh, the other thing I found interesting too was that his comic didn't last very long. It was like about a decade.
And then it went on like a hiatus.
Yeah, canceled in 1954, and then he was brought back for Avengers in the 60s. So by the time he's brought back, it's been 20 years since his debut,
and 10 of those years these comics weren't even being made.
Yeah, exactly. There was just no Captain America.
Yeah.
And so when they bring him back, they actually give him like a test. Because the Avengers are like, wait a second, are you the real Captain America? Like, you've been missing for a long time. And they test him. Apparently, he was frozen in ice. So ever since the 60s, he's already been a man at a time. I always kind of assumed that was more of a recent thing. Because his origin is so tied to World War II that you kind of have to introduce this time gap. You have to freeze him in ice. You have to do something so that he can still be around, but still have been in World War II.
Well, like, no matter what era you hit after World War II, he's going to be a man at a time because, I mean, it's going to be either that or he's immortal.
No, that's what I'm saying. But as far back as 1964, they were already doing that.
Yeah.
It'd only been 20 years.
I mean, even, like, let's say you go into a coma or something for 20 years, the world's still going to be very different.
Yeah, but in comic book like logic, like time doesn't have to pass 1-to-1 as real world.
That's true.
Like in DC, they just kind of ignore it. For a long time, they just ignored it, that like time is passing. They're like, oh yeah, our heroes are just getting older very, very, very slowly.
They also, in DC, they don't tend to tie things to like real world events that often either, though.
As much, yeah. I mean, they had a couple like, continuity resets, but for the most part, they're just like, yeah, don't think too hard about it. Batman's 35 years old.
And like, always will be.
Yeah, exactly.
Until we need him to be older.
But it's 1964, and they're like, shit, like, Captain America, he'd be in his 60s now, or in his 50s. Like, that's not going to work. He was in World War II. It's only been 20 years. That's why I think it's funny, but pretty much, like, him being a man out of time is essentially, for at least for the last, like, 60 years, been part of his, like, character.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool, because, like I said, I always thought that was a little bit more recent. Which is why I'm like, man, this movie, they should have, I don't know, they could have unfrozen a guy. At this point, it's 1979. It had been a decade and a half of Captain America being famous again. He's in Avengers comics and stuff. Like, he's got his own comic book issues. I don't know. They could have done something to tie that into the World War II other than saying, like, oh, yeah, your dad. Don't ask too many questions because we're not going to actually see him. We're not even going to give him a name.
He's just your dad.
He's just your dad, So we'll talk a little bit more about Captain America, but I think my favorite part about Captain America in, like, the MCU is that kind of like this, where the character hasn't really changed very much in the last 80 years.
He's very old-fashioned, but in a good way, not in a like weird racist way.
Right. He represents the best of like the United States.
It's
almost idealistically. So.
What America ought to be, not necessarily what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I really like about these new movies, the MCU Captain America, is that he's like the only character who doesn't have like a real character arc. He doesn't change at all, and that's the point. The world changes around him.
Yeah.
And he remains constant.
His arc mostly focuses on like those around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just, to talk about the MCU for a second, but that's, I think my favorite part is that, by the time he's unfrozen and he comes back, he doesn't recognize his country anymore because it's changed so much. In World War II, like, we were the world's heroes. We went in, we saved the world from World War II. We stopped the Japanese. Then we went into Europe. We stopped them there. Like, we basically made all the difference.
And then we hit Winter Soldier, where he finds out that S.H.I.E.L.D., this U.S. Yeah, is S.H.I.E.L.D. a U.S. agency or a world agency?
U.S. based, probably.
U.S. All right. Well, you find out that they're planning on, killing threats before they're threats. And he's not about that at all.
I think Winter Soldier, that movie, my favorite part and maybe my least favorite part is that they had to make Hydra the bad guy. They had to, put a face to the villains instead of just saying, hey, maybe S.H.I.E.L.D. is wrong. Maybe we're fucked up now, because the whole thing is supposed to be about like the Patriot Act and
the
NSA
idea
and spying and how we've toppled governments, the CIA. How ethical is the CIA? How does like the United States now compare to what it would have in the 40s? What would they think of us today?
It's like, what are you willing to lose of your humanity in order to like ensure security, basically?
Right, sure. And so I like that idea that he wakes up so many years later and he's like, he doesn't owe his loyalty or allegiance to the United States so much as he does to like the idea of it, because the government is the one that's like hunting him down. He goes rogue like right away in Winter Soldier and in Civil War. Yeah. And he doesn't see himself as a traitor because he's not. It's America's that's wrong.
He's doing what he believes is the right thing to do, like he always has.
Right. And I think it's that kind of like real, it's crazy to me that like Marvel Studios was able to pull this off, and not just pull it off, make him like one of the best characters in the entire Marvel universe.
Yeah.
A character
even though he's like a
big Boy Scout.
Yeah.
A character that should be kind of
like,
he's a
likable one.
Yeah, sure. But he should be like campy and easy to make fun of. And this movie, it was just kind of like, yeah, they make fun of him for being so patriotic. Yeah, we know. But what if, like, you could maybe be Captain America?
Yeah, I think the closest we might get to that in the MCU is like, his goofy ass outfit in Avengers.
Yeah.
Him doing like all the war propaganda in the first movie, and then, Tony Stark making fun of him in Age of Ultron because he doesn't use harsh language.
Sure. But I love that in that first movie when he's doing the propaganda and he's doing the shows on stage, Like, he doesn't want to be there, but he sees the value. He still thinks he's contributing. He's like, this is still good. He knows it's important. I'm selling bonds. Right. Yeah.
But he wants to be more involved.
Sure. I mean, he drops it at the first hint that he could do something. He could be more useful. But he's very content doing that because he's making a difference.
Yep.
You know, and he's providing like this kind of...
He is aiding the war effort.
Yeah. And kids are looking at Captain America, you know, this like the stage play and like the movies that he was making and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, like...
They're inspired.
You know, we can do this. Yeah, exactly. And he's putting a face onto like I said, the United States then, which is not the same as the United States like now.
Right.
Anyway, so I think that pretty much covers it. What do you think? Phantom Zone, final thoughts? Captain America 1979.
Like we said, this movie was fine. The end was not good, but like just the overall plot and all that was interesting enough. Not a great Captain America movie, but like it was a entertaining enough movie. So I wouldn't Phantom Zone this. I'm not upset that I watched it.
Okay, cool.
What about you?
Nice. I would disagree with you that you said that this is like not a good Captain America. I think this is a pretty good representation of Captain America. I don't think it's super accurate because like you said, if you think of Captain America, you're like, oh, World War II and fighting Nazis and maybe Man Out of Time.
Patriotism.
Yeah, patriotism. I mean, this guy's super patriotic. But I like that he is in character still Steve Rogers. Absolutely. Like they did that part right. You know, he's got the super soldier serum. He's very patriotic, but he's not like blindly patriotic. He said no like 10 times to this whole thing. He's like, no, like I did my duty. I served my country and now I get to like do my own thing. I like that because there is a difference between like patriotism and nationalism.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think if you had a character who was just like, hey, your country needs you, and he's just like, boom, boom, salute, like, yes, I'm there. That's a little bit more dangerous, you know?
Right.
Because now you're just like, oh no, whatever the government tells you, you're just gonna like be like, yep, for my country, whatever. I almost said queen and country. We don't have one of those. Yeah, like for my country, whatever.
So like a John Walker type character?
Maybe, yeah, exactly. So I like that he seems to kind of be like his own guy. And he's like, he said no a bunch of times before he realized, okay, we'll do this. You know, I can serve my country some more under these conditions. And even though the condition was stupid. I like all that. You know? So I would say this is a semi-accurate portrayal of what Captain America should be. And this movie wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Again, the action's really bad. And it's filmed kind of wonky, but it's a product of TV in the 70s. But overall, like, you know, I had fun with it. People should definitely watch this, you know.
Yeah, it's not like it's not a complete waste of time.
No, dust it off the shelf, and again, it's a piece of comic book history for sure. So it's not in the Phantom Zone for me. I like it. Probably won't ever watch it again. It's not that good, but yeah. So Berto, what movie are we doing next week?
Captain America 2, Death Too Soon.
Again, it's spelled correctly. I hate that. It's TOO.
But this one has Christopher Lee in it as the villain.
So I'm super excited because we get to do a proper keep or cancel because there's a famous person in that movie.
Yes.
The villain is Christopher Lee from Lord of the Rings.
And like Star Wars.
Star Wars and Dracula and a bunch of shit.
A lot of old vampire stuff, actually.
Well, he was very famous in Dracula for a while, I think. Yeah, so it's the sequel to this movie.
Mostly the same cast. I think one person got recasted.
I think they recasted the chick.
Yeah.
Obviously. Just put a new chick in it. No one's going to notice. It's the 70s. Yeah, so that's not available really anywhere. That's the one that we couldn't even find to rent.
That's why we had to purchase the DVD.
Yeah, we bought a DVD. It's only $6 and it comes with 2 movies. So if this is something you're interested in, look, man, it's on Amazon. It was $6. Otherwise, you might be able to find like snippets of it on YouTube. You could probably like torrent it if that's what you're gonna do. I'm not gonna endorse that.
We don't endorse or recommend that, but
who fucking knows if anyone even owns this anymore? Maybe CBS. But anyway, other than that, thank you guys for listening. Thanks to that piano dude for our musical intro. Fuck, I gotta go back and help him with his desk setup. I destroyed that piano dude's piano. Now I gotta go fix it. Make sure you leave a rating and review. Make sure you tell a friend. That'd be great.
All of your friends,
Please
everyone.
Friends. Yeah. You can find us on Instagram at Films from PZ. You can find us at Instagram at Films from the Phantom Zone, and you can find us on Twitter at Films from PZ. You can listen to these episodes on YouTube. No video element, so you can listen. You really can't watch, but if that's how you like to get your podcast, then we're there.
Throw it on your TV or something while you clean or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And if you'd like to support the show, we have a Patreon. There are no benefits yet. So hey, if you just want to throw in $1 just for good faith, then you can do that there, and we'd really appreciate it. But other than that, we will see you guys next week with Captain America 2: Death Too Soon.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.